Hey friend, how you doing? Have you ever asked yourself or asked someone else, is the Bible contradictory? If you have that question, stay tuned. We're going to answer that on Morning Nuggets. Hey friend, God bless you. Thank you for joining me on Morning Nuggets. I'm your host, Pastor Nate. I'm glad that you decided to come out and visit me this morning. Please do not forget to subscribe if you like these videos. Let's get into it. Does the Bible contradict itself? Friend, I have asked that question in my Christian journey at some point. I'm sure you may have too. In fact, someone a few months ago, almost a year, had brought something to me saying that, Pastor Nate, it seems like the Bible is contradictory. Can you explain this for me? Y'all, let me tell you, while the Bible is not contradictory, it is controversial. Yes, which means that it will challenge us, right? It will tackle those issues that we try to make excuses as to why we're in a certain place in our spiritual walk, but the Bible will cut us there. It's like a sword, right? And that's good because that's how we get help. That's how we come up and that's how we grow. So it is controversial, right? If I'm in fornication, the Bible speaks against that. So that's going to challenge that part of my life. If I'm lying, right, the Bible is going to challenge that. So yes, it is controversial, but it doesn't contradict itself. Now let's go to a couple examples. I got an example in the Old Testament and I have one in the New Testament, so I can just shed some light and hopefully clear up some confusion. Now if you look in Genesis chapter 1, that God listed what he created on what day. It lays it out for you, right? And the question was, God created animals first in chapter 1. If you read that chapter 1 of Genesis, around about the 25th and 26th chapter is where I'm coming from. And then after that, he created man. We know he created man last, and on the seventh day, he rested. But if you go to chapter 2, it appears that God made man first, then he made the animals. Well, have you ever had somebody to tell you a story or describe some events that previously happened? That's what was going on in chapter 2. So to clear up the confusion, if you look at chapter 2 in that first verse, it will say that the heavens and earth were finished, which means that God had created everything. It starts off that in chapter 2. So that should let you know the creation was already finished, right? So when in chapter 2 further on down, the writer was explaining to the audience what God had done. So when he was describing these events, he did not describe them in sequential order or chronological order, right? So when he described the creation in chapter 1, he did not describe them, he did not recap in the order that they occurred, thus seemingly to be a contradiction, but it's not, right? So that's what was going on right there. It was kind of a summary of the creation, but it wasn't necessarily listed in the order that God created. So that's why it seemed like it was a contradiction there. But it was not. We know that God created everything first, then he created man, and then on the seventh day he rested. So hopefully that clears that up. Now here's another instance in the New Testament in Galations, the 6th chapter, and we're going to look at verse 2 and verse 5. I talked about this before when I made a video, should pastors go to seminary? Y'all check that out and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. But in this particular instance here, Paul was talking to the Galatians. In verse 2, it says that we should bear one another's burden. In verse 5, it tells us that everybody should bear his own burden. Well, that seems like a contradiction, right? It appears to be. Well, what Paul was essentially saying in verse 2, when it says that we should bear one another's burden, which means that, we are our brother's keeper, right? I am concerned about you. If you need help, if you in a bind, if you in a struggle, those of you who have the wherewithal, we're supposed to come to your rescue, right? That's what Christians do. right? We give you that temporary relief until you're able to, get back on your feet and sustain yourself. That's what that was talking about. Now, verse 5 was saying that everyone should bear his own burden, which means that we have our own obstacles, we have our own issues, we have our own cross to bear. No one is exempt from bearing his cross. And I could take it a little further and say that we should work out our own soul salvation, and with all the challenges that come with that, right? I shouldn't have to worry about you. I got so many issues that I'm trying to overcome. I got enough to not worry about what you're going through. I need to focus on me, right? And focus on my burdens and focus on trying to get my life right and carrying my cross. So hopefully that clears up some confusion. There are many other instances that it's just so many that I can't get to on this video. When we read these scriptures, we really have to read them in context. If not, it would seem like the Bible contradicts itself. And we know that the word of God, the mouth of God, does not contradict itself. Friend, I pray that this exhortation bless you this morning. Don't forget to subscribe. In the meantime, in between time, be at peace and not in pieces. Till next time.